Good morning, class. I am your instructor for beginning Latin. My name is Miss Wilson. Oh, how many times did I say those very words over the years? But I suppose a more formal introduction would be the polite thing to do today. Hello, I am Miss Deborah Wilson, and I was an educator all of my life. For my 76 years on this earth, I devoted all of my time to education. Well, first, of course, to my own, and then to educating the female gender of our town. I was appalled at the attitude of men toward women in my day. In the 1840s, when I was a young girl, I was groomed to be some man's handmaiden. Well, I was headstrong. My father was not pleased. But I was a smart, observant girl, and I saw too many young women, and I mean 14 and 15 years old, sold to men in their 40s and 50s. I was to be no part of that. Strong-willed and bull-headed, that's what my father thought. And so I was sent to relatives in Canada and taught in schools there. But when I was 32 years old and well past the marrying age, I returned to Glens Falls to join Miss Ann Swarthout, who was opening the Elmwood Seminary for girls. This was a very large undertaking, and I was to teach Latin, mathematics, and botany. Miss Swarthout was an excellent teacher and administrator, although at times she did have a very strange demeanor. At one point she was said to have, and I'm quoting here, too close an application to study, which caused an aberration of intellect, end quote. And she spent some time in an asylum. But when she returned, she was stronger than ever, and with her staff ran a top-notch school. She was very strict with the girls. She despised vain women, and she expected that decorum be taught at all times, both by precept and example. She especially catered to the girls that were children of ministers and missionaries, and she offered advantageous pay schedules for them. But Elmwood was exactly where I had always wanted to be. What a life we had at Elmwood. The building itself was located on the corner of Elm and Park, where the Pizza Hut is in today's world. It was a magnificent building, 3 stories of lovely white clapboards with a large veranda facing Elm Street. It was a wonderful place to be teaching. We had our share of boarding students too. Most of them did come from Glens Falls, although we did have some of the richer girls from Sandy Hill and even from Granville. Well, the expense at the school was really high. It was $2.50 per quarter for primary, and it went all the way up to $6.50 for higher English. The room and board was $55 for the winter session and $60 for the summer. And if you wanted oil painting classes, That was an additional $10 per quarter, and music lessons were $8 per quarter. It wasn't cheap. Oh, 2 girls occupied every room, and we tried to put a sedate girl with a hoyden. I bet you don't even know what a hoyden is. Can anybody take a guess? Okay, sort of wild. She was a high-spirited, sassy, boisterous girl. Oh, how I loved their spirit. We were supposed to try to curb them, but I always found myself trying to channel their energy into a sea of learning. The girls had to be up early, 6:30 a.m., and they had to be clean and ready for breakfast by 7:30. And grace was said at every meal, even though the food often left something to be desired. Classes started at 8:30 with the reading of a few Bible verses and everyone singing a hymn. Miss Ella Hamilton was at one of the 2 pianos, and she taught from early morn till 9 at night. There was always music. It was really a wonderful time at Elmwood, and all of those women went on to other positions, but I was dedicated to Miss Swarthout and stayed there until she left. I spent 10 wonderful years at Elmwood until Miss Swarthout suffered a relapse of her previous mental anguish. In 1870, she died at the State Lunatic Asylum of Michigan in Kalamazoo. Oh, how my heart ached for my friend. See, she had often hinted at the abuses and the outrages that she had suffered there on her previous incarceration, and she begged never to have to return there. She was so depressed that she refused to eat, and she succumbed at the age of 45. Well, after she died, Elmwood was closed for quite a while, and then finally Mr. Bowen tried unsuccessfully to run a co-ed school. And then Miss Amanda Taylor did have success for 5 or 6 years with an all-girls school. After that, there were a few attempts at different frameworks, but nothing really worked. And the building was finally acquired by Mr. James Waite, and he made it into a hotel. Anyway, that lovely edifice was destroyed by fire in 1888. After I left Elmwood, I was offered the position of preceptress at the Glens Falls Academy. Preceptress is another good word. Can any of you think you know what it means?
Admissions?
Excuse me?
Admissions?
No? Principal. Somebody had it. Preceptress is a female principal, and I was the preceptress at the Glens Falls Academy. That was a wonderful place to work. It was an excellent preparatory school for college, business, or just training for life. I was happy there for 10 years until I retired around 1890. It used to be located on Warren Street, and you can still see, I hope you go check, you can still see the words Glens Falls Academy in the facade of the Warren Tire Building. It later moved to Chester Street. The atmosphere at the academy was always very congenial. Mr. Holman was the principal. Mr. Whipple was in charge of commercial instruction. The rest of the staff was Miss Boyd, Miss Goodman, Miss Kingsley, and Miss Perry. You know, I always felt that I made a great impact on our city. Many young women remembered me, and they even used me as the role model. I was just happy that I was able to assist so many young women to pursue a career in teaching. My friend, Mr. Howard Coles, made room for me in his family plot. He was a bachelor man, and we became good friends and companions in our old age. I was always taken with the markers that he chose for his family, and I was proud, I am proud, to lie here beneath this tree of life, understanding, and education. The size of the markers denotes lifespan. A shorter, broken off branch meant that the person there died before his time. A strong, tall branch, such as mine, means the person lived a long, fulfilled life. I'm so glad you stopped to visit today, and I do hope you learned some things. Have a great day. Carpe diem. Thank you.